Hey, what's going on? How are you? This is day 3 of my cut. Just woke up, just made myself some eggs, 2 eggs, 3 egg whites, and a little bit of salt on there. Just hanging out here, eating, watching some financial news. Interesting things happening right now. Oil's making a rebound. The S&P's up for 3 days in a row. Kind of interesting. Lots of things going on in this world. Yesterday I saw Zoolander. It was pretty good. I mean, it's exactly what you would expect it. Just staying in there, keeping up to date with everything, and yeah, life's pretty good. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my cut. So this morning, I actually woke up at 193. It was pretty good. As you can see here, I started 198 on Monday, and now I'm cutting down and I'm at 193. So I'm 5 pounds down. Not so bad. I'm still pretty hydrated. I feel pretty good. My glycogen stores are a little bit lower, but it is what it is. The hardest parts I think are coming up, and the best thing is to really be informed. So yeah, I did a little bit more research because I'm just that kind of guy, right? I mean, so yeah, everything was pretty consistent. I laid it out in this chart for you guys. If you can see, right? See it on that chart? Everything is pretty consistent so far, across the board, except there were two main thoughts, main schools of thought, and it was in the drinking water here. So some schools of thought said 2 gallons, 2 gallons, and you stop right before weigh-ins, pretty much 15 hours before weigh-ins. And another school of thought said you're supposed to gradually reduce the water intake. This is not really a hard science for obvious reasons. Doctors don't sit around and say, hey, what's the best way to lose a ton of water weight to gain it back on? I mean, it's just not something that doctors do. They would sit around and talk about the hedgehog pathway and curing cancer and non-small cell lung cancer and all this stuff. Yeah, they'll sit around and talk about that, but they're never really gonna do, sit around and say, oh, manipulate the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system so you can compete optimally in judo or wrestling. That's just the thing that they're not gonna do. So a lot of this is sort of, I want to say like pseudo semi-science, because it's something that guys like me, guys who've been through it, sort of done this on a trial and error basis. So it's definitely not hard science. Hence, there's a lot of leeway for mistakes and things you can play around with. I don't know which one I really am into yet. The 2 gallons all the way up until 15 hours before weigh-ins, or the 2 gallons that sort of taper off. But they both sort of play on the same idea, which is, like I said, the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. What happens is that whole system that involves renin, which is an enzyme and a hormone, regulates the aldosterone and the antidiuretic hormone. All right, so I wrote it out for you. See, right there, boom and boom. Now, what happens is when the water intake goes up, the body downregulates aldosterone, right? And then there's that timing where you're just constantly going to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden you restrict water. All of a sudden you don't take in any water in anymore. So then there's that sweet spot of your body just releasing all this fluid, but you're not taking in any fluid, right? Because you're restricting, and then your body doesn't realize it yet. So for the body to adjust and upregulate the aldosterone, you're just going into dehydration mode without actually having to try so hard and sit in the sauna or anything like that. Your body's just going to naturally do it. So yeah, it's very interesting. Water goes up, down regulates aldosterone, which has a very big role in manipulating sodium levels in your body, and then sodium and the antidiuretic hormone, they all work together. It's this whole system. But essentially, there's two schools of thoughts on the water intake and the reduction. 2 gallons all the way through, tons of water all the way through, or sort of tapering. So that's kind of an interesting thought. The other thing that I sort of came up with, not came up with, but looking at was the sodium. General consistency across the board was 5 grams of sodium, 5 grams of sodium, 110. I've seen 5500. I've seen all sorts of numbers, but this is generally how it is. I've actually saw a place where it says 0 all the way through. And like I told you on Monday, I think that's a complete mistake because then, you could kill yourself doing that. So, yeah, I kind of like this. I think I'm going to stick with that. And then the glycogen carbohydrate manipulation and restriction is very important across the board too. So I'm gonna just take that as a given. Um, but yeah, there was a little bit of discrepancy in the information available. Some people say a gram of glycogen requires 2.7 grams of water for it for the body to store. And some information sources said 5 grams. So, like I said, it's not a hard science, but the consensus pretty much is that glycogen, you need water. So glycogen stores depleted, then not as much water. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it's going. Like I said, I feel pretty good. I'm gonna go to the gym today, and then I have judo tonight. We'll see how I train, how I fight tonight, and yeah, stay tuned. I hope this is informative. I've been scouring the internet for information. And yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm gonna get back to eating my eggs and watching some more financial news and really interested to see what the oil prices are gonna do. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.